الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. As we inaugurate this new class or this new book in Aqidah, which is considered the introduction of this tremendous book entitled Asma al-Amani, which is from the Shuruh, or rather you should say Muqaddimah Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani rahimahullah. As you'll find that this book is from those books in belief. It's very basic, and it's from those books that have been explained by numerous scholars, from those scholars of today, our modern great ulama, who have come and they have made tremendous explanations in regards to this tremendous book that will start. Notice that the book is entitled Muqaddimah. A person would say, why is it considered Muqaddimah, an introduction? It's called the Introduction of Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani, rahimahullah. But before we start, and we wanted to show everyone the different types of explanations that are out there that one could benefit from. As this book, Lillahi alhamdu minna, has been translated and it's available, and like we said, we'll also try to post a little bit more copies. But they're easily attainable for those who want it. They're there, they're circulated amongst the people. For this book, like we said, the Muqaddimah of Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani rahimahullah is a book in Aqidah, in belief, and it's from those books that you'll find that Al-Ilm has given great care as far as its explanation and in regards to what will benefit the people in this regard. As we know, as we live in very trying times, and based upon that, it's binding upon us to return back to the usul. When things are going left and going awry, it's incumbent upon the people, like we said, to revert to what rectified the first of this ummah. Because the first of this ummah was rectified. As everything that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam came with a proper guidance, the people applied, and Allah blessed their dunya as well as their hereafter, and gave them the best of both worlds. For verily this book, everyone, like we said, for those who are in front of me, if I had maybe a video and put it online as far as the book, a copy of it. But this book has been explained, for example, by the great Imam of today, who's still living, Sheikh Salih Fawzan, Ibn Abdullah al-Fawzan, rahimahullah, hafidhullah wal excuse me. You could say rahimahullah, it's not just exclusively for someone that passed away, but that's more frequent how the people use it. Al-Alama, also the great Imam Ahmad ibn Yahya al-Najmi, rahimahullah, has also explained this book. Also has explained this great book, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, rahimahullah, hafidhullah wal Sheikh Abdul Muhsin ibn Hamd al-Abbad al-Badr, hafidhullah wal and also the great Imam Sheikh al-Allama Zayd ibn Hadi, Zayd ibn Muhammad ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, rahimahullah ta'ala. From those who have also explained the book, Sheikh Ubayd ibn Abdullah al-Jabiri, rahimahullah, rahmatul wasi'a, wa adakhalahu Allahu jami'a ulama'ina fasiha jannatan. So this book has been explained by numerous scholars that are well known with the people of the truth and the people of the sunnah. And you'll find how this book is very beneficial, very basic, and it is not difficult for anyone to understand in regards to benefiting in the affairs of foundations and fundamentals of this belief or the belief of Islam. For verily, like we said, when the affairs go awry, it's binding upon us to revert back to our usul. We revert back to the principles that have rectified the first of this ummah. And like we said, we've rectified the first of this ummah, we'll rectify the latter if the people cling to it and hold firm to it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless the communities and He will revive them in a better state and bring back to them the honor in which had become either weak or became lost. And as a result, like we said, of the people not living right and the people embracing distorted, deviated ideologies, as a result of it, Allah's anger descends upon the creation. Like we said, what will be the cure to the problem and the solution is what we're about to do right now. Right. So the person might ask, why is it called muqaddimah? The person would say, some of the people translate it as aqidah of Ibn Abee Zayd. Why is it called al-muqaddimah? Then we'll talk about a little bit of the biography of the author, rahimahullah. But first, the person might ask, why is it called al-muqaddimah? Introduction. First, this book was part of another book. This book was part of another book. So, in actuality, this book that we're about to explain was extracted from another book in which to find that the great Imam authored. This great Imam, Abdullah ibn Abdul Rahman, and that was his name, because you notice it says Ibn, the son of. But his name was Abdullah ibn Abdul Rahman. Abdullah ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani, rahimahullah, he was from those scholars that catered the madhab of Imam Malik. He was from those scholars that catered the madhab of the great Imam Malik. Malik ibn Anas al-Usbahi, Imam Dar al-Hijrah in al-Madinah. The great Imam, al-Imam Malik. From his book that he had authored, catered or had that service of al-fiqh al-Maliki. And you'll find that that book was extensive, meaning it was in detail, it was long. When he had wrote that book, catered towards the fiqh al-Imam Malik, you'll find that Ahl-Ilm, of those who truly were upon proper knowledge, they would start the book. They would inaugurate or start the book by what they call muqaddimah. Muqaddimah is introduction. So every author, when he embarks upon any book that he writes, he's going to write for it a what? Introduction. So this is to put in perspective that the book, everyone, this particular treatise was a part of another extensive long treatise. So Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abee Zayd wrote this book initially, like we said, catered towards the madhab of Imam Malik. So it was a book in fiqh that he wrote. But in that book of fiqh, in the introduction of the book, he wrote what was the belief. As we know, the most important of what given all the scholars of the past and all the scholars of today, what made them great is not the fact that you just author treatises in fiqh. What made them great, all of the scholars, without any exception, is them holding firm to the correct belief fundamentally in Islam. Those beliefs which were pure, orthodox, if you want to say, affairs that were pure in its state, that were not tainted, those matters is what made every scholar great. If it wasn't for Allah, of course we know, and the authentic sunnah, the message of Allah, and the proper understanding, and that knowledge that Allah sent down, there wouldn't be any madhahib. There wouldn't be any madhahib, nor would there be any great scholars in Islam if it wasn't for Allah, the authentic sunnah, and the proper belief of Islam. So the proper belief in Islam is what gave everyone, including ourselves, prominence. And being raised out of the darkness and the pitfalls of this filthy world and the filthy cause of the devil would save everyone, not just the affairs of the scholars of the past and today and ourselves, would save everyone, generally, was the proper aqidah. And that's what raised everyone out of the pitfalls of the filth and the satanic cause of this world. The problem is that people will what? Have to hold on to it. You'll find from these scholars, from our great ulama, in every single book, you'll find that book before they actually cover the topic itself of that book. You'll notice that they always talk about affairs that's connected with belief, because that's the foundation. So you'll find that this great Imam, Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani, inaugurated the book by writing for it his belief. Because his belief is what made him a great scholar. His belief in Aqeedah and holding firm to what the Messenger of Allah was upon fundamentally is what made him great. So he started the book by writing this introduction. This introduction that he had written was in affairs pertaining to what the Muslim was binding upon every one of us individually to believe in, and what will be a reason for your success in this world and in the hereafter, and when you die, and what is binding upon one to hold firm to with their molded teeth, and what is considered actualizing the beginning of every mission and the beginning of every knowledge. That the Messenger of Allah ﷺ explained to Hadith Jibreel and testified that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad is the Messenger of Allah. So the Messenger of Allah started by that testimony, which is the core, essential of what? Everything. From salat, zakah, siyam, what is given precedence before all of those affairs is what? Is the knowledge of Aqeedah. That comes before everything. Those matters that the Messenger of Allah said clearly. He didn't make it difficult. He said to testify that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad is the Messenger of Allah. To know the meaning of it, to know what it entails, and know all the affairs that actualize and purify that testimony, and what you have to hold firmly to keep it intact until you die. Those are the matters, like we said, that every scholar of the past and present realize. And like we said, from them is this great Imam, Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani. So he wrote this introduction, and what they call, some of Ahl-Ilm, they call it the major fiqh, or the greatest fiqh. The greatest fiqh is Aqeedah. They call it al-fiqh al-akbar, which was actually a book by Abu Hanifa. As you'll find that Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, also had a book called al-fiqh al-akbar by Abu Hanifa. We know Abu Hanifa's name was who, everyone? Nu'man ibn Thabit. Abu Hanifa's real name was Nu'man ibn Thabit. Nu'man ibn Thabit. He has a book entitled The Greatest Fiqh. The Greatest Fiqh, or no, The Greatest Fiqh. When he said the greatest fiqh, means belief, aqeedah, conviction, everything that revolves around the proper belief of a Muslim. Those matters, everyone, this is what Ahl-Ilm, when they say the greatest fiqh, what they mean by it is aqeedah, and when they say fiqh itself, what they mean is affairs that's connected with the branches of the religion, as we know. Branches of fiqh is what was pertaining to what, for example, affairs that revolve around those matters of, let's just say, affairs of wudu, or moving the finger during salat, or affairs pertaining to mu'amalat, of dealings with the people, of what they're supposed to do in regards to sales and transactions. All those affairs are affairs of fiqh. Affairs that are pertaining to what they call jurisprudence, which is affairs that's what? That goes outside of those affairs of belief, even though they're all connected at the end of the day. All of them necessitate each other. But you'll find that they say in regards to affairs of fiqh, when we say fiqh, we mean fiqh in the branches. For example, fiqh, jurisprudence, of understanding of the affairs of worship, the affairs of mu'amalat, the affairs of dealings, transactions, all those matters, and even the affairs of the branches, and understanding how to carry them out properly. For example, the affairs pertaining to salat, zakat, Sawm Ramadan, to the end of it. All those are considered affairs of fiqh, But however, when the Ahl Ilm say the greatest fiqh, they mean by belief, and that's it. Is it clear, everyone? The greatest fiqh. What they mean by is what, everyone? Belief. You'll find that the great Imam Ibn Fawzan says this. He says, Al-fiqh al-akbar huwa fiqh al-aqidah. The greatest fiqh, which is considered aqidah. Then he said, Al-fiqh fi al-furu'. The fiqh in branches. وهو الفقه في العبادات والمعاملات. لأن أركان الإسلام خمسة. شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وصوم رمضان وحج بيت الله الحرام. He said that you have the branches, which is understanding, what they call fiqh, understanding in affairs of worship, affairs of transactions, dealings, and the pillars of Islam are 5. The testimony that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And to establish the prayer, and to give zakah, to the end of it. But what our focus on in this book, as we will talk about inshallah, is the first pillar. The first pillar of Islam is what, everyone? Aqeedah. That is the first pillar of Islam. The first pillar of Islam is belief. Iman bi arkan as-sittah. The belief and, of course, faith in the 6 articles of faith, as we said. So number 1, the first pillar of Islam, arkan al-Islam, is belief, aqeedah. And that is belief in, of course, the 6 articles of faith, which is Iman in Allah, in the Malaika, in His books, and His messengers, and belief in the hereafter, and the divine decree, the good of it and evil of it. Ahl Ilm, they took a lot of efforts, or have exhausted a lot of efforts, in clarifying this pillar. The pillar of the correct belief, because they realize that nothing of deeds and acts that one performs is valid unless this is valid first, or that they solidify the validity of this matter first, which is belief. That everything else will be fortified or jeopardized, meaning it will be considered invalid, or affairs will be extremely weak, or you'll find that the Muslim will be very weak in their religion if they don't start with this affair first. He'll be very weak, and he will be subjected to either deviation, or he'll be subjected to becoming a weak Muslim. Or he'll be subjected to becoming weak at the time where trials and tribulations become very hard and very difficult. For verily, if a person's foundation is not firm, then they'll blow along with the winds. And that's what you'll find in every time and every place, that those people who do not start with these type of affairs first, you'll find they are the people that become weak, and they are the people that really do not remain firm at the time when affairs become very trying. And when they become trying, you'll find that they blow along with the wind, or as they say, when the wind blows, the building collapses. So that is the affair you'll find of why Ahl Ilm, that they gave great or stressed the importance of what we'll speak about in a minute, inshallah. So, Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani, rahimahullah, he wrote this muqaddimah in clarifying his belief. The muqaddimah that he wrote, the introduction that he wrote, was so beneficial until Ahl Ilm took it out of his book. They extracted it from his book in fiqh. Because it was so beneficial, clarifying the pure, untainted belief of the Muslim, until the ulama used it as a book in order to clarify to the Muslims what's binding upon them to believe. So that's the reason why it's called the Muqaddimah Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani. Because it was an introduction that was extracted out of his book that he authored in the topic of fiqh, in which he catered to the fiqh of Imam Malik. And that just summed it up. Is it clear, everyone? So that is the reason why it's called, as we said, Muqaddimah Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani, Muqaddimah Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani. Right. Clarifying this affair of the correct, pure aqeedah was the methodology of the Salaf, as we know. you'll find, as we said, after they have clarified those affairs, ثُمَّ يُتْبِعُونَ ذَلِكَ بِشَرْحِ الْأَرْكَانِ. Then they followed it up by explaining the pillars of Islam. For affairs is connected in fiqh, in prayer, fiqh in zakat, fiqh in siyam, fiqh in hajj, fiqh in dealings, transactions, fiqh in inheritance, endowments, fiqh of what is pertaining to prescribed penalties, what they call jinayat, prescribed penalties, and affair of judgment or judicial affairs, which is done in courts. Those affairs of fiqh, all of them will not be correct if the person has not carried out this affair of belief first. So that's the reason why you'll find in every time, in every place, how those who traverse the path of the prophets and messengers all start with what they started with, which is calling the people to the proper belief. Because the proper fundamental or the proper foundation, if that is built, if everything is built upon that, then everything will be set aright. And the people will, as a result of it, will become, inshallah, properly guided. This affair, when time started to elapse, we'll talk about, like we said, Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani, what his place, where he was born, the land he was around. We'll talk about that next class, inshallah, a little bit more detail as far as his biography, a little bit. But at any rate, you'll find at the time when it elapsed, and the people started deviating from this affair of Tawheed. And you'll find that they started to now embark upon affairs that anger Allah, which is embracing those weird beliefs. And the people started to now, as we mentioned and said, worship graves, worship the dead. It started being engrossed in Sufiya. And they started adopting logic and rhetoric, and that affairs is connected with what they call falsafa, philosophy, and the likes of that. You'll find that al-ilm stressed this affair even more. Its importance to the people more became even more important, because affairs of the satanic cause and its doors started to become widespread, and it started to affect the Muslims. Like when the 4th century came after the hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ, we're talking about the 4th hijrah, or 4th century, which is around, like we said, 500, 400 after the hijrah. All these polluted matters started what? Invading the Muslims and making them deviate and taking them far away from what was considered their means of success in this world. Like we said, graves started being worshipped amongst the Muslims. Sufiya started becoming practiced amongst the Muslims. All the affairs of philosophy started to be embraced. And you'll find there was really a small amount of people who are not affected by these matters. Even affairs of tashayyur, affairs of people becoming Shi'i or Rafidi. All those matters started what? Affecting the Muslims. Even to this day, the affair is still the same. All of them are still affected by these exact affairs that we just mentioned. And they abandoned using the Kitab and Sunnah as a source of guidance and fundamentally in their religion. Rather, you'll find from some of the Muslims, even though they ascribe to this religion, them make a mockery of the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah and saying that it should not be utilized, or it should not be even considered something of evidence, or it should not be a source of guidance in our religion because it's suspect, or it has in it that a person cannot have definite, concrete belief and firmness that that affair is authentic or that affair is not. Those type of matters you'll find that people from the Muslims became affected with, and the Muslims have adopted, and you'll find there are Muslims out there that actually say this, even though they say that they're Muslim. All of these affairs you'll find that they became affected with. Philosophy, jadal, being argumentative, and the affairs that the Messenger of Allah clarified in the most utmost and most best of clarity. And the affairs of what they call aqliyat, affairs of the utilization of so-called rationality and intellect, was given precedence over revelation. As a result of it, as we mentioned and said, the people deviated and Allah's anger descended upon the people. Al-Adillah al-Sam'iyya al-Dhanniyya. As you'll find that they mention and say, for example, concerning the Kitab and Sunnah, that they call it, for example, Al-Adillah al-Sam'iyya al-Dhanniyya. The evidences that have been conveyed, but they necessitate conjecture, meaning they necessitate affairs that are not concrete, meaning the Kitab and Sunnah is suspect. Especially the Sunnah, as they say. He says Dhanni, Dhanniyatu, or Dhanniyatu Dalala. Meaning it's suspect in conjecture in regards to it being used as an evidence and proof. It's suspect. It cannot be what? One cannot fully trust it at all. فَهِيَ عِنْدَهُمْ تُفِيدُ الظَّنِّ. For verily, with the people who deviated, it necessitates mere what? Suspect. As for affairs is connected with logic and philosophy and rhetoric, those matters will bring surety to the individual. For that reason, you'll find that they call it al-barahin al-aqliya. These are some of the Muslims, and even to this day, you'll find that there are Muslims that utilize the affairs of rationality and intellect and say that that is the source of guidance and that the Kitab and the Sunnah just complements that. And those matters are what? Those matters need to be given precedence, and that the mere fact that Sunnah, even if it's authentic, it's still subjected to what? Conjecture and mere what? Suspect. For anything that agrees with the mind, as we mentioned, that is what's considered concrete, and that the mere Sunnah decorates it and complements it. All of that is incorrect. It's the Kitab and Sunnah is the affair that's concrete, and you'll find that, as we mentioned and said, the Kitab and the Sunnah necessitate two affairs. They're qat'iyyat al-thubut and it's qat'iyyat al-dalala. It's both. The affairs of what's the authentic Sunnah, with all the prerequisites of a hadith being authentic, if those conditions is filled, then it necessitates two matters that the Muslim believes. It's qat'iyyat al-thubut and it's qat'iyyat al-dalala. That is concrete in it being affirmed and authenticated upon the Prophet ﷺ. We believe that wholeheartedly. And it's qat'iyyat al-dalala. And it's firm as far as what it indicates. Meaning, we also work in accordance to what that authentic hadith has conveyed. So you believe both as the Muslim. The Muslim believes that the authentic Sunnah, the message of Allah, is qat'iyyat al-thubut and qat'iyyat al-dalala. Qat'i means it's definite. Meaning you have no doubt about it. Qat'i is definite, sure, it's been affirmed, solidified. The message of Allah said it. How do we know? We have the science of hadith that fulfills those affairs and carries it out. Then, once the affair of thubut, that the hadith, the authentic Sunnah has been authenticated, then another affair comes. What is what, everyone? There's qat'i dalala. It's solidified and it's sure as far as what it indicates, meaning that the Muslim works in accordance with it. And he has no doubt of that. These type of terms, though, everyone, was invented by the philosophers in order for the primary goal was to instill doubt in the Muslims concerning the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Ahl al-Ilm came as a result of this type of atrocities that were introduced to the Muslims. They came and had to defend the Sunnah of Mustafa ﷺ by bringing all the affairs of thubut, all the affairs of the authenticity of the hadith, and also affirming that once it's been fulfilled, you have to work in accordance to what it necessitates and what is the meaning of that hadith. And you have to apply it to your daily life. Every Muslim believes this. This is from the basic affairs in which you'll find that the Muslims have deviated from. And I've heard, and still to this day, if you look on social media for people who say they're Muslim, that say out of their own mouths that the Sunnah, that's the hadith. Those hadith, we don't have to really take any care for that. That's not that important. Just bring what's in the Kitab of Allah, in the Book of Allah. That's it. The Sunnah, suspect. These are Muslims that say this. It is extremely dangerous. And if one is not careful, make a mockery of the Sunnah can nullify Islam. Make a mockery of the Sunnah, the message of Allah, will nullify Islam. mockery of the signs of the message of Allah. Oh, those you worrying about raising your ankles. Don't worry about that. That's nothing. Be extremely careful. Don't worry about your beard so much. Those are for those old times. Those are for the ancient people, from the old times, ancient times. You still want to live with those ancient times. Those affairs, as we said, brothers and sisters, are extremely dangerous. And this is what you'll find that they came clarifying in this book by the great Imam Ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani, especially in the affairs of madhahib. It was connected around what they call al-ta'assub al-madhabi, of those who are blind fanatics of following madhahib. For example, you'll find that those who ascribe to the madhab of the Imam al-Shafi'i, and you'll find that Muslims say this from those who have deviated. You'll find that they say, for example, I'm Shafi'i in fiqh. However, I'm an intellectualist in belief. You understand? They'll say that I'm Shafi'i in fiqh, but I'm an intellectualist in aqidah. Is this correct? Why? Because number one, Imam al-Shafi'i, before we talk about that, you'll find that they'll say about himself, I'm Shafi'i in my madhab, and I'm Naqshbandi in aqidah. Or I'm Shafi'i in fiqh. However, I'm in aqidah, I'm Naqshbandi, or for example, I'm an intellectualist, or I'm a grave worshipping Sufi in my aqidah. Is it clear, everyone? I'm a grave worshipping, dead worshipping Sufi in aqidah. Yeah, if you're a dead worshipping, grave Sufi, worshipping grave and dead people, you have destroyed the mission of all the prophets. Because that was their mission, was to destroy and eradicate polytheism in all of its aspects. That was the foundation. That was the rectification of the ummah from the time of the message of Allah, when they decimated, destroyed, I'm talking about completely destroyed polytheism. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the dunya open for them and gave them happiness in this world. As a result of them holding steadfast and clinging firm to this affair, what we're speaking about now. When they demolished and destroyed polytheism and the doors that led up to it. From domes being raised upon graves, and from affairs of lights and torches being lit around the dead person's grave, all those affairs they destroyed, demolished. And they leveled the graves off, and as like we said, as a result, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them. The problem now with the Muslims is the affairs pertaining to madhahib, but they blind follow affairs and the matters that were clearly in contrast to what these great ai*imma were upon. And like we said, you'll find that they say, for example, I'm Shafi'i in my madhab, but I'm a grave worshipping Sufi in my aqidah. Is this correct? Or you'll find that I'm Shafi'i in my madhab, but I'm an intellectualist in my aqidah. I'm intellectual following what? Philosophy. Does that make any sense? Absolutely not. Like we said, these are the affairs that's pertaining to what we're mentioning. And not from the Sufis who believe, from those type of people who are engrossed in Sufiya, who believe there are prophets after the message of Allah. From them is Ghulam Ahmed Qadiani, from the Qadianis who believe that. They believe that Ghulam Ahmed Qadiani is who? A prophet, which is also from the most filthiest of beliefs. There'll be a prophet after the message of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam. But we know that the message of Allah clearly mentioned in the authentic hadith where it comes, it said, إِنَّهُ سَيَكُونُ فِي أُمَّتِي ثَلَاثُونَ كَذَّابُونَ كُلُّهُمْ يَزْعُمُ أَنَّهُ النَّبِيُّ وَأَنَا خَاتِمُ النَّبِيِّينَ لَا نَبِيَّ بَعْدِي. Verily there will be amongst my ummah 30 liars. 30 liars, and they will claim that they're a prophet. And I am the seal of all prophets. There is no prophet after me. La nabiyya ba'di. The message of Allah made that clear. Know for sure there will be liars that will come after me claiming prophethood. And they will be claiming to be prophets and messengers. Because if the seal of prophethood has been closed, the messengership is for all the more reason is shut the door. And how many times have we heard people that have actually claimed prophethood, and it didn't start in these times. It started directly after the message of Allah died, rather during the time right before his death, alayhi salatu wasalam. from those prophets such as Aswad al-Ansi, Sajjah, al-Mukhtar, Abi Ubayd al-Thaqafi, Musaylama al-Kadhab, and other than them. Is it clear, everyone? You have, and those who Abu Bakr as-Siddiq claimed that they were what? Apostates. Those who followed those fake prophets, the position of the Sahaba from them was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, as he fought two types of people after his death. Number one, they were the muta'awwilu zakah, the people who distorted the meaning of zakah, that it was only during the time of the Prophet ﷺ that it should be given, which was incorrect. Those are the first type that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had to what? Fight and bring them back to the truth. Number two was those that they call al-muttabi'u al-mutanabbi'in, those who follow the fake prophets. Those who follow the fake prophets. From them was Al-Aswad al-Ansi. Al-Aswad al-Ansi.
Can you say the one again, please?
Al-Aswad al-Ansi. Al-Ansi. Al-Aswad al-Ansi. From what remember, he was in Yemen. He was a fake prophet to the point, if you look in the story, that the individual who killed him, they said when he killed him, they heard a jinn come out of him. That they heard the moaning of a jinn, to let you know how evil these people are. So it's Aswad al-Ansi that they heard a moaning, or a moan, a real loud moan type of, a weird type of scream or moan after he was killed. Aswad al-Ansi. He was a fake prophet. And the jinn used to inform him, the shayateen used to inform him of certain affairs. Anyway, you have Al-Aswad al-Ansi. Then you have Sajjah. She was a woman. They say she was a woman. Yes, a woman claiming prophethood. They said that she made tawbah from what was conveyed in history. They said that she made tawbah. Anyway, then you have, for example, al-Mukhtar, Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi, who's also caused a lot of fitna and chaos amongst the Muslims by misleading them, in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ also in the form of authentic hadith about him. Al-Mukhtar Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi. In the hadith which is in Sahih Muslim, سَيَخْرُجُ مِنْ ثَقِيفٍ كَذَّابٌ وَمُبِيرٌ. He said they will emanate from the land of Thaqif a liar and a person who loves to kill people. So, you'll find that Ahl al-Ilm say that the one who emerged from Thaqif were two people. Was Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, as we know, he used to love to kill people for the, as they say, the adna shubha, for something that necessitated of what? Went against the ruler of what he used to shed the blood of those type of people. He said the second was Al-Mukhtar Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi. Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi, Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, was from those who claimed prophethood. And you'll find from those who claimed prophethood was Musaylama al-Kadhab, as he lived during the time, of course, of the Sahaba. Musaylama al-Kadhab also was a fake prophet. Those people, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq deemed them to be apostates. If those were the people who followed them, what about the actual people who claim prophethood? What do you think that their state is? If the people who followed them were considered to be apostates, what do you think is the state of the person who actually claimed prophethood? His level of evil with Allah. Is it clear, everyone? His level of evil with Allah. To claim prophethood after the message of Allah. Alayhi salatu wasalam. Is it clear, everyone? So those are from the affairs that happened after. These type of atrocities the Muslims embrace. And like we said, to this very day, this affair of ta'assub, blind fanatics, of madhahib, of the madhabs, of the great ai also are plaguing the Muslims today. This great imam, everyone, was from the great ai from the ulama al-Malikiyah. So, I want everyone to take heed to what we're about to do in regards to the fiqh of Ibn Abee Zayd. He was a scholar of who? He was a scholar of the Imam Malik, right? So keep in mind this great alim, what he's going to say in regards to his belief And he was someone who was revered as a great high scholar in regards to his what? In regards to his service and what he did for the great Madhhab al-Imam Malik, or the Madhhab al-Maliki. He was held in high esteem. But what made him great? What made him great is what he's going to clarify in this book. Is it clear, everyone? طيب. Especially, let's stop here. We can read a little bit of it. We can read a little bit today, inshallah. Anyone want to read? We'll read a little bit. As far as his biography, we'll do it next week, inshallah. طيب, so the muqaddimah of his risala, I'll read the first line. Then I'll allow someone else to read. We'll stop, inshallah. Nas muqaddimat al-risala. Everybody have it? Some people have it. Like I said, everyone, this book is translated. It's easily attainable. One of the brothers told me they found it online in English. In English?
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Oh, Jay.
That same book.
That one right there?
Is that it right there?
What Hadith has.
Yeah, that one.
You have it, Mustafa? Oh yeah, that one on your phone. This is from, there's explanation. You can use this one. I'll show you after class. This is by Sheikh Abdul Muhsin. This is an old copy. This is from Sheikh Abee. Or you can get them all in one book. They're all put together. And they're 2 volumes. This is the first volume. You have Sheikh Ahmed Najmi's explanation in here. And other ulama, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad and others. There's 2 volumes, this one. It's 2. And like we said, the book that you're using, which is translated by Sheikh Salih Fawzan, that can be used. And that'd be enough. Because you could just add your footnotes onto it by your own writing, if you want, inshallah. We're about to stop in a minute, because I know certain people are fasting, including myself. Inshallah. So let's start by reading the first line. قال أبو محمد عبد الله بن أبي زيد القيرواني رضي الله عنه وأرضاه الحمد لله الذي ابتدأ الإنسان بنعمته وصوره في الأرحام بحكمته وأبرزه إلى رفقه وما يسره له من رزقه وعلمه ما لم يكن يعلم وكان فضل الله عليه عظيما ونبهه بآثار صنعته وأعذر إليه على ألسنة المرسلين الخيرة من خلقه. To the first line, as he says. Abu Muhammad is his kunya, Abdullah ibn Abee Zayd al-Qayrawani. He said, may Allah be pleased with him. May he be pleased with Allah, and may Allah also be pleased with him. All praises is for Allah, in which He started mankind by His what? By His bounty. He started mankind, or originated mankind, by His bounty. وَصَوَّرَهُ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, and Allah gave him shape and image in the wombs of their mothers by His wisdom. وَأَبْرَزَهُ إِلَى فِقْهِهِ, that He removed him from the womb of the mother out to this world, meaning in this dunya. And He also provided for him and made it facilitated of provisions. And He also taught them, or taught mankind, what He did not have knowledge of. And the bounty of Allah upon him is tremendous. And He also نبهه بآثار صنعته, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gave him awareness to His signs of His creation, of Him being created by Him subhanahu. And also Allah used as a hujjah, made of excuses, meaning utilizing those excuses upon the creation, meaning of the prophets and the messengers, of the best of them from amongst the human beings being sent to them, in order to establish the proof against them. and also for them to be rightly guided. We'll talk about that when it comes, inshallah. We'll stop here, inshallah. I want to get into a little bit more. Just excuse me, I'm a little exhausted. Tafadhal.
Where did you stop at in the text?
وأعذر إليه على ألسنة المرسلين الخيرة من خلقه. You see it? وأعذر إليه على ألسنة المرسلين, upon the tongues of the great prophets. You see it? Uh-huh. تفضل.
The two volume, the book that you just showed, it says 2 volumes.
This one?
No.
This one, أسماء الأماني. أسماء الأماني. أو أسماء الأماني بجمع شروح مقدمة ابن أبي. I'll give it to you after the class. I'll give it to you. أسماء الأماني. It's a compilation of all the different scholars. They compiled it in one book. It's 2 volumes. This is not the only volume. It's 2. It's a compiler. Any other questions about the lesson? Anyone? Like I said, his biography, we'll touch on it a little bit more next week. Just excuse me and pardon me, brothers. It was just a little weak today. Just a little weak, so inshallah we'll get into it in more depth next week, inshallah. But I wanted to start the class because I don't like to cancel, and everybody's always, especially here in the West, you gotta keep something going because people utilize anything as an excuse. Oh, more than likely it's gonna be canceled. Oh, it's gonna be canceled. So any other questions about the lesson? That's it. Alhamdulillah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.